Let this be a lesson. Read all the labeling. Alright, going ahead and start the tear down of the 6.0. I just got it put on the hoist, the little engine stand. Don't really trust this engine stand yet, so gotta back up. Just drain the oil out, removing the remote oil cooler lines. I'm gonna take some pictures. That way I remember how to put this thing back together. But day one, tear down. Alright, so I got the all the front accessories off. I still got the water pump on there, obviously you see that. One thing that threw me off is I got cathedral port heads here. I thought they were going to be the rectangular shaped one. I don't know what they call it, rec port. I got 317 heads. I don't know which. I thought they were the rectangular port, but they're not. Obviously, they're not. I'll have to go back and do some more research and find out if these are good or bad heads. Not that it really matters. I want to run them anyways. Another thing that threw me off is this little this steam line right here. This is supposed to vent any steam that might build up in your coolant systems. And they had a little hose that went right back into the intake back here. In fact, there's the hose right there. I don't know if you can see it. There, that hose goes right up into the bottom of the intake here, throttle body. But anyway, what threw me off was I thought it went to all four corners of the heads, both sides and both ends of the head. See it down here, and you see connection points right here. But so that's something else I have to do some researching and see what I want to do there. Supposedly this was a 6 liter out of a 2003 Express van. Say that I say it came out of Express van, and then earlier I was back here when I was hooking my engine stand up. I don't know if you can read it or not, but it says silver, which I'm going to assume is like SILV, as in Silverado, and you can barely see it behind there, but it's 2500. So I don't know what TCE, I don't know what that would represent. There's some other numbers and stuff back here, which I don't know what those mean, but so I don't know if it came out of a Silverado or if it came out of a van. Either way, 6 liter. Let her eat. Another quick update. Just got the first valve cover off, and I'm blown away. It's an extremely good looking motor. I haven't pulled the other side off yet. We'll see what it looks like. But I don't see any crust or anything. Very clean in there. Alright, so it's been a couple days. I had to go to auto parts store. Tried getting a little harmonic bouncer puller. Something I did not realize is here's the long rod that goes with it. Evidently there's actually a set that comes with 4 rods. The one I rented from this parts store only had 2. That's the longest one. It's way too short. So I asked a buddy to borrow his. Someone else that got an LS, she's for sure. He let me borrow this. Same thing. Got 2 of them. Went back to him a day later. Said, "Hey, how'd you get that thing off?" He's like, "Oh yeah, there's a longer." He goes, "I had a longer one, but I bent it." So I'm trying to figure out how to get this daggum thing out. I got some of these piece of all thread hardened steel more or less for bolting flanges together. I got two of them, one this size and another one a little bit shorter, about an inch shorter. So we'll use this as a spacer. Stick it in there. And actually, I'm going to use the short one. There, short one. Sticks out plenty. You gotta figure this thing got quite a bit of depth to it, so I've already fitted up in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and use this short one. Yank it out. We'll see how it goes. I'll get back with you. Alright, I've already replaced the cam. I didn't really take any videos of it. I think there's plenty of videos out there on replacing cams. They know more about it than I do, so. But the cam went in, no issues. Went along just fine. Went ahead and pulled my oil pan. Pulled the oil pan because I'm wanting to go ahead and check the my ring gap clearances on the cylinders. I don't know if I've told you, I'm pretty sure I've told you before that I'm ultimately wanting to put a turbo on this motor. They recommend a certain ring gap on their cylinder heads. So I pulled one cylinder out, number one cylinder. I also wanted to look at the bearings, see how they look. I don't know. So I've already pulled the top ring off, slid it inside here and measured it. For whatever reason, I thought recommended ring gap is going to be for a turbo is 30 thousandths. Right here is 19. It's just, I might be able to get a 20 in there. Yeah, 20's tight. So we'll see how it goes. I need to look up on Google, see what the recommended ring gap is. Alright, so I got all the pistons out, pulled out. Took a wire brush to them, try to clean the bulk of the gunk off of them. The more I tear this down, the dirtier it is. I thought it was a real clean motor to start with, which overall I'd probably say it's still a clean motor, but it's the deeper you go, the dirtier it gets. So I'm gonna have to go to the parts store and get one of those the ring compression tools so that I can start putting these pistons back in. I'll start assembly. See, I don't know if you can see a bunch of gook in here from me doing cleanup on it, scraping it all, but I'll get all that wiped down before I start throwing pistons in there. Alright, I've already replaced all the springs on the other head, and I got this tore all the way down to the very last one before I thought to even video this. This right here is a tool. I mean, it's just a manual spring removal tool, I guess what you call it. I don't know. I ended up borrowing this from a guy at work. Actually, he borrowed it from another guy, and they let me borrow it. But anyways, I'll go ahead and see if I can set this up. Get one video of me removing the last spring. Not a whole lot to it. You get this thing in hand, it's pretty self-explanatory. So let me set this up, and we'll see what happens. Let's see if I can go ahead and get a video of it going back together. I may have this tightened down too much. These little keepers don't want to stay in there. I gotta kind of, I can get the keeper in there, but then I have to twist the spring to kind of catch it. There it is. And I'll do like 2 or 3 of these, and I'll take my dead blow and just smack them a couple times to sit and make sure everything's seated in there tight. That's it. It's not near as difficult or intense as I thought it was going to be, so cool beans. Let this be a lesson. Read all the labeling. Got little metal flakes in my engine paint. That's fine. I have a feeling it'll flake off anyways. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start putting this thing together. One thing I'll decide I'm going to do before I throw everything together is, this is the passenger head. I'm going to go ahead and pull out this plug right here. Go ahead and install a temperature sending unit. That way, hopefully my stock gauges will still work. I got this from O'Reilly's. This is what it is. It's a little 3/8. Here's a part number, TS76. We'll see if it works. It's a 3/8 thread. I had to go ahead and get a tap here, so I'll end up having to drill this out and tap it. We'll see how it goes. Alright, working on the valley cover. These knock sensors, you should know that knock sensors get screwed in through here through the valley cover plate. I pulled this valley cover plate off, and I mean, that's what I saw in one of them. The gasket was already wrapped around this, stuck to this, so that's what I had, and this one right here was still in place. Anyways, I guess the reason I'm showing you this right now is I had a heck of a time trying to figure out how these things come off. Once the R parts stored, I got me these are Dormans, 6 liter LS, but whether they're cheapo or not, I don't know. But anyways, I had a heck of a time trying to figure out how these things come off or how they're supposed to be oriented. Actually had to get on the old interweb there and try to figure it out. Nobody really tells you how. I guess it's common knowledge for anybody that's done it before, but I've never done it before. You can see that little mark right there. I was trying to pry it out. I didn't know how this thing was set in there. I finally seen one YouTube video where he had a brand new plate with no gasket or grommets in there, and I could see that lip, which, I mean, with a new one, you can kind of tell how it's supposed to go in there. I just wasn't for sure. So long story short, this is a used one right here, but you get a new one in there, get it right there, just start popping it in there. To get these things out, you can see that right there. It's where I took an old hammer, set this thing up in a vise. Just laid it up in there. Took the old pry bar, screwdriver, knife, multi-tool. Took a hammer to it, and it was actually harder. It took a couple smacks to get that thing out of there, but there you go. Now you know how to pull this thing out. For those of you who don't know, like myself, this is, you're going to end up, I'm going to clean this lip up, and I'm just going to set it right there and tap it home. Alright, got the oil pan off. Nothing fancy there. I ended up getting through eBay another low profile LS pan. I saw this on a couple YouTube videos and took their recommendation on it. Alright, I'm back. Alright, so LS Swap low profile oil pan. It comes with new gasket, new pickup. Obviously the pan itself, and I thought there was a, let's see if it's in here. I thought it came with hardware. Yeah, new pan, hardware, and windage spray. So I'll start putting into this. Let's see how she turns out. Alright, so I got everything put back together. I say everything. I got the heads put back on. I got the new oil pan and the valley cover. New oil pan looks good. Time will tell on it, just like anything else. I don't know, I took a picture of them side by side. Looks significantly shallower. This pan OEM is, I think I measured it 8.5. Hold on. Alright, so the stock pan is probably about 8.5, not counting the gasket. Go to other one, and it's probably about, what is that, about 5.5. Yeah, somewhere's in there. So we're looking at a 3-inch difference. Looks significantly lower, but there you go, measurements 3 inches. Next step is I'm gonna go ahead and put my cooling water pump back on. Put the water pump back on, and I'm gonna start. I'm not worried about all the accessories, up front accessories yet. To be honest, I might just tape up the cooling water ports as well and leave them off until I can get this thing set in place. One thing I do want to mention is, I believe that I mentioned at the beginning of this rebuild that this motor appeared to be very clean. Pulled the valve covers off. It looked really clean in there. However, as I was cleaning the heads themselves out, I could actually stick my finger in the inlet ports here and just scoop out mud. When I say mud, I'm just talking about solidified oil. LSs are notorious for sucking in a bunch of oil, having the intakes dirty as well as the heads. I saw that firsthand on these heads right here. I mean, you can see the mess I made on my little workshop table here. I went through, I don't know how many cans of cleaner, degreaser. All I have is 2 cans of foam engine degreaser. I do have a can of, or that grease lightening. I sprayed probably half that bottle in there trying to dissolve it. Carbon choke cleaner. I only have 1 can of brake clean left. I went through a hellacious amount of cleaner. Anyways, long story is all that gook and grime comes from the intake, and the intake gets it from your valve cover breathers right here. Just sucks off any vapors that come into your valve covers and recircs it right back into your intake. I guess it's pretty efficient. However, that's where you get all this oil. It starts coating up and just making everything a mess. I guess that's one reason why you see a lot of these car builders, these custom cars, have these oil catch cans. All the oil vapor that collects up here in your valve covers goes to a catch can, collects the oil before it vents back into your intake, or it just vents to atmosphere. It doesn't have to go back to your intake. So that's something I'll end up looking into doing, is probably doing a catch can. But saying all that, I gotta dig out, I don't know where it is, I gotta dig out my intake, and I think that's gonna be my next project, is to clean the crap out of that intake. That might take a while. So I'll have to get more cleaners and more spray, and I might need to go get another tote, something similar like this, to make it into make like a little miniature parts washer, soak it in there. So that's where I'm at. Motor's done. Long story short, motor's done, put back together more or less. The last part being the water pump, accessories, and intake. But new cam, new valve springs, new head gaskets. I believe that's it. Time to wait and save more money for the next pieces and parts.